Megan Tanner, and she's with Peppermint Stitchworks. Welcome. Thank you so much. You're welcome.
Oh god dang it, now she's gonna go on the site.
My name
Sorry, I'm gonna
is
get a closer first law.
and this is my business, Peppermint Stitchworks. There we go. Okay. So, what is Peppermint Stitchworks? So, firstly, the nature of my business is twofold. It is an alterations and repair service, which means I do everything from altering your prom dresses to fixing your frayed dish towel. You know the one, we all have one, right? In our kitchen, we've been meaning to do something about. But secondly, it is also my personal brand for my theater costuming work. I do everything from costume design to stitching, which is working in the workshop, building the costumes, to wardrobe, who are the people backstage wearing all black, helping the performers in and out of their costumes. Lots of laundry and maintaining the costumes. So I can already hear the question, what do these two things have to do with each other? Because they're not quite as different as you might think. So for one, I'm using the same skills in both settings. It's just applied as a business versus applied as a freelance theater thing. Think of it as like a real estate agent who does both commercial and residential, perhaps. But also, the networking in the theater business is so key, and that oftentimes has led to word-of-mouth advertising for my alterations business. I've gotten a lot of great business that way. But on the flip side, my employers in the theater world love to see different applications of your skills outside of theater as well. So that shows them that I can use those skills in a variety of contexts. But also these two sides can wax and wane as the seasons go by. If during busy seasons, they're very flexible with each other. So I have a very broad target market for what I do, to the point where customer profiles I feel are perhaps a little bit limiting. So instead, what I have for you guys today is a variety of customer archetypes that I frequently see. Firstly, I have a lot of sentimental individuals, people who have a favorite shirt. Oh no, it has a hole. Let's help you be able to keep wearing that. Secondly, environmentally conscious or thrifty individuals. If your winter coat, if just the zipper breaks, it's a lot cheaper to just replace the zipper than it is to buy a whole new coat. And then professional and celebratory occasions, prom, wedding, stuff like that, but also your suit coat for your daily business meetings and stuff. And then lastly, creative individuals who have a very specific idea of a look that they would like to execute, helping them accomplish that. So let me introduce you to my team. It's just me. So I do everything from the administration to the marketing to also, the sewing stuff, which is obviously the bulk of my business. Except for my cat, who's my HR director. He's very good at his job. So I work out of my home, which when my husband and I were moving to St. Joseph, we specifically picked that house because of its ideal setup for what I want to do. My workspace is right inside the door, so I don't have to take people through my whole house. There's another door that leads to the bathroom, which is right across the hall. But also it has a really nice sized closet that I use for a changing room for people. And not renting a larger space, a secondary location, helps to decrease my overhead costs and allows for greater financial flexibility, which allows for, in turn, greater flexibility with my theater work. If I have a show and I need to spend 3 weeks doing something else, I have that flexibility and I don't have to pay rent. So also, while I do occasionally travel for customers, especially my customers based out of Kansas City, having a workspace to meet people is very helpful for the 64.3% of my projects that I meet with people in person for, as opposed to my 35.7% that I do online over Etsy. Which brings me to my next point. How did Peppermint Stitchworks get started? Originally, it was an Etsy shop that I started in 2020 after an internship got canceled for, obvious reasons in the world at that time. So I sent out commissions out of a P.O. box. I had a social media, I had an email, and then I kind of just kept doing it as things continued to open up. So I was able to open and close that Etsy shop as needed for busy seasons after that point. During this 4-ish year period, I graduated from the University of Northern Iowa. I got my, oh, thank you. My major is in theater design and production with an emphasis in costumes, and then I got a double minor in art and entrepreneurship. And then after graduation, I started working at a wedding shop and doing alterations. And then I also did freelance work at a variety of theater organizations that you can see here. So you may notice that this timeline ends in October of 2024. You may be wondering, what happened then? Well, I got married and moved and decided to put into action this crazy little plan I had to make Peppermint Stitchworks like a real thing. So when I landed in St. Joseph after our move, I had 2 major goals. The first one was to make Peppermint Stitchworks official, and then the second one was to rebuild my client base. So when I moved here, I knew absolutely no one. I reached out to a bunch of people in my existing network, and none of them knew anyone in the Kansas City area either. So I was really moving out into the middle of the ocean here. So, and also working out of my home kind of makes it hard to meet people if you're in your house all the time. So I knew I needed to be really, really diligent about not just meeting new friends, but also meeting people to network with and customers. Yeah. So starting in November, after I moved, I started working with the SBDC, who was super, 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 super helpful, filing all of my business paperwork and my tax filing stuff. I had the goal of opening in January, so I was setting up my workspace out of my home that I showed you the pictures of, getting my new P.O. box for my online orders, writing my alterations contract, setting up my Square register. I was very busy during this time. I also would not recommend changing your name, doing all your name change stuff, and updating all of your documents at the same time that you're filing all your business stuff. That was so much paperwork, you guys. And then I also started doing some initial research for networking, as well as getting ready for my next trip. So, from February to April, I got my website, my business cards, and I started the cold call process, trying to network with people. And I can already hear the questions. Megan, have you reached out to this group? What about this group? I've talked to a lot of people in the last year. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'm focusing on only highlighting the people, or the organizations that I had positive experiences with, just for the sake of time. And then I also opened a musical called Ride the Cyclone in April. Please note that my revenue number there does not include my income from my freelance theater projects. For the purposes of this presentation, I'm just focusing on the alteration side of things. So this is the point where my beta testers, if you will, recommended that I pause, I hold so that people can actually look at the pictures. So I'm going to take a drink. You're okay. All right. So May to July. At about this point, my market research showed that a lot of customers in Kansas, or in St. Joseph, go to Kansas City to do their shopping, especially for like formal dresses. But after they have found their stuff, they're a little bit more apprehensive to travel for alterations. So I decided to try to meet my customers where they're shopping and try to network with wedding dress shops in Kansas City. I went to a bunch of shops, distributed some business cards. Unfortunately, I didn't really see very much traction from this. I also started to feel a little bit disappointed that I wasn't really seeing some of the traction that I was hoping for in my networking efforts by this time. So I ended up getting a commercial sewing job in Kansas City and did that for a little while. But I did have a really exciting development during this time. I got involved with a group called the Kansas City Young Audiences, which is a teaching organization for the arts in Kansas City, and started teaching 2 classes a week there. And then in July, we opened Tunable Kinsman by Shakespeare. And I got some more pictures of that. I'm going to pause and take another drink. So, of course, about the time that I get a 9-5 is about the time my business really takes off, because that's how that goes. So I took a leap of faith and I pursued the thing that I had been pursuing this whole time and leaned into this. If you've been watching the project numbers and the income, that's about darn near about quadruple what I had been making in the past 3-month chunks in 2 months. So I'm very excited about that. And then currently teaching, again, the 2 classes at Kansas City Young Audiences, as well as having a networking event through Kansas City Young Audiences lead to a connection at a theater in Kansas City. So, I am pleased to report that our narrative of the last year has a happy ending with good prospects, but not all of which I can necessarily talk about just yet. I've got that aforementioned, I'm in contract negotiations with the theater in Kansas City, as well as I'm going to start teaching at the Coterie Theater soon, as well as at Kansas City Young Audiences. And then I have collaborations brewing with 3 small businesses in St. Joseph, one of which is the Frog Prince, the other of which is Bella Pock. And I wasn't sure how much you were going to, she's already announced, so I was a little bit vague about that. But it sounds like stay tuned for that soon. But my other future goals are I would like to invest in an embroidery machine to expand my offerings a little bit, as well as continuing to keep working on advertising, networking, and optimizing my SEO a little bit more. Because my #1 challenge this year has unfortunately been getting people to talk to me, for lack of a better phrase, and unfortunately I think that's just because I'm new to the area. So I have been tackling that problem by becoming not new to the area and getting involved with people. I've already spoken throughout this presentation about my networking efforts and getting connected with people. One of that has been coming to Cup of Joe and hanging out with you guys.
Yes.
So my call to action for you guys today is let me sew your things. I would love to help you guys, with any sewing needs you might have. But also, next time you notice someone new, say hi, offer to get coffee with them, invite them to sit with your group at lunch. It can be kind of scary being the new person. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Any questions?
So you mentioned an Etsy shop, and then you're also doing your alterations. What do you offer on your Etsy shop to sell, or is it just your services? Like they just give you an idea that you make it, or do you have stuff that you already have that they just buy and you ship out?
Yeah, when I first started, I started off with inventory, and unfortunately I found that I wasn't very successful with that. I found that I had a lot more traction with people who had something in mind that they already wanted, and then I wasn't left sitting on excess inventory. So right now, my Etsy shop is really just a platform for me to connect with customers.
Gotcha.
They will reach out to me, and it says in the listing, because the listing is only for like $1, it's like, message me before you purchase this listing, let's talk about your project, and then I will, we'll discuss the next steps and all that, and then I can give them a custom quote that's tailored to what it is that they need.
Gotcha. Okay, online question by Elizabeth. Can you make leotards?
Technically, yes, that is within my wheelhouse.
Okay. I have a feeling she'll be reaching out.
Where is your shop located, and do you do, like, I don't know if it's on Etsy, like the
So my shop is located out of my home. Because this is being recorded and put on the internet, I'm not going to say where I live, but it is in St. Joseph. Do I make teddy bears out of like old clothing? Yes, that is actually part of why I want to get that embroidery machine. Is I've been looking into making commemorative items such as that, and then when I was looking on Etsy to see what other people have done, a lot of those folks have like names, birthdays, birth weights, especially embroidered onto those teddy bears. So I would like to be able to offer that as well as expand my offerings into that. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. So.
I have a question. How'd you find Cup of Joe? Like, because you've been coming, I see you.
Yeah. So I actually found this through my friend Sarah Parks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, who
Tobin.
is amazing. And I'm actually going to see her later today at book club. So yeah, she gave me the recommendation to check this place out.
I was just curious why you decided to move to St. Joe.
So my husband got a job at the Altec plant. He's an engineer. We knew that this move had been coming for a while. We were together for 6 years before we got married this last fall. And he has done one 6-month co-op and about 2 or 3 internships, and he left that last internship basically with a job offer. So we knew after he graduated we would be coming down here. Yeah.
Okay, time management. How do you structure your day? Because it seems like you're everywhere.
Yes, I
I
very
have time to actually read
very careful, very diligent planning. I have a planner and I live by it. But I also recently discovered an app called Time Squared, which you can use to clock in and clock out. And then you can also log individual projects to find out how long you spent on this project and how long, like, okay, I had a networking thing, how long did I spend on that? And, so
What
that's
was
been
that called?
Time Squared.
I'm taking that note from my husband.
I like how you add that in there. My husband.
So yeah, just a lot of very, very careful time management, and then being very diligent to not overbook myself and then leave margin for the times that inevitably something takes a little bit longer than I think something surprise comes up.
So you have to even time out your rest time or your play time.
Yeah, kind of. So yeah, I have to be very careful when you live in the same place that you work. It can be very easy for those things to bleed together, and that was one of the things in the first month or two that I really struggled with. It's really easy to be like, oh, I just finished eating lunch. Oh, hang on, let me like do the dishes, and oh wait, I just forgot to go do some laundry, and then I blink, look up, it's 4:30, and I haven't done the things that I needed to do. So being able to step away from the dirty dishes to focus on my work and know that they will still be there when I come back has been pretty important.
So what's the process? Say I have a few shirts that need small men's. Do I contact you, bring them by, we talk about, you give a price, we agree, yes, no, like how does that, do you have standard like pricing for things or?
So I'll start with my process and then I'll get into my pricing. So I have a website or an email that people can reach out to me through. And people reach out, this is my project, and then I will usually discuss things. Sometimes I'm able to give them a quote through stuff, but sometimes, especially in the cases of like, say, prom dresses, bridesmaids dresses, I really have to see it in person before I can tell people what it's going to cost, because there's so many different variables that can come up during that bidding process. But then people come in, we talk through it. I have a contract. If someone comes in and they want to think about it a little bit, I don't require them to pay anything beyond occasionally a booking deposit before they leave, in case they change their mind. But then, yeah, does that kind of make sense with the, yeah. But then for pricing, pricing, a lot of my pricing is based off of $20 an hour, but then sometimes if it's something that's very technically complicated, it might scale up or perhaps down if it's something that's really simple like a button. So.
I congratulate you on taking the leap and going into it full time. And then I was noticing your numbers, and especially the last one, it was a lot more money total, but also it was a higher per project amount, which is really good. So I'm wondering how you try to decide which projects really are profitable for you, or how, if there are really some little ones, and I would sure up my hourly wage. How do you decide which ones are worth taking on, or maybe just not worth your time because you only have so much time?
Well, right now I take every project that comes my way. The reason that part of why I had some higher ones was I had 3 wedding dresses during that period and 3 beautifully ornate bridesmaids dresses, so that perhaps brought up that total. But yeah, right now I'm taking everyone that comes my way, and yeah.
So do you have thoughts of this being bigger by having other people sew along with you? Because you're going to get the capacity if they're a big threat.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts down the road? And have you ever heard of the sewing lab in Kansas City?
I have not heard of the sewing lab in Kansas City. I will be sure to check that out.
It is a place where they train people to sew, and so I think it's a nonprofit in what they do. They would be a good connection for you.
Yeah, for sure. The first half of that question was,
Where do you see this going?
Where do I see this going?
See people hiring or out, or how do you see that going?
yeah. Right now, I have no plans on expanding in terms of like hiring other people, at least not until the very, very distant future. But at some point I am going to be at max capacity. When I was working at the wedding shop, especially during like prom season, where there's a very distinct deadline that everyone needs all their stuff by, at a certain point I would have to say, I'm booked, I can't take any more projects right now. So right now I'm not necessarily at that point where I can say, sorry, I'm booked, but I know at some point I will be. So at some point I will have to either say, this is when I can get your stuff to you by, this is my wait list. I actually do have that right now where, I have to carefully schedule my stuff, and I say, this is when I will be able to get your stuff to you back by. It may be a couple weeks out. But most people I find, unless they have waited until the very last minute to get something done that they need urgently, usually are fairly flexible and willing to wait a little bit.
Can you talk about, I know nothing about theater. So when you're going and doing the theater, are you the only seamstress? Or are there, because that seems like a huge task to do all the costumes for a whole theater.
Generally, especially for larger companies, no, I'm certainly not the only person. Especially the opera companies that I've worked with. You're looking at teams of 20 to 60 people. But for some of the smaller places, I have done shows where it is literally just me doing everything for a group of 30 children for Shrek the Musical. And that's just an adventure that you have. But yeah, both of those shows that you saw, those were both just me, except for I had a makeup assistant who is very wonderful, who I've loved working with. So.
Nice.
Have you found the theater community in St. Joe accessible? And would you work with them?
I have tried to get I have done my best to speak with them. Unfortunately, it seems like there's a very set group of people who enjoy working with each other. And Yep. I was in Kansas City, so yes.
Where did Peppermint Stitchworks come from?
Yes. So Peppermint originally is one of my favorite flavors, and then Stitchworks was inspired by a place in Des Moines called Spaghetti Works. But I landed on Peppermint Stitchworks for my business name because one, it kind of sticks in your head. It's very interesting and unique. But two, it lends itself very easily to a lot of really cool branding between the red, black, and white color scheme, as well as when I package stuff up to send it out over Etsy. I have peppermint themed packing supplies that I use to package up my my stuff. I stock up after Christmas when it's all like half price, and then I just use that through the whole rest of the year. Yes.
So you mentioned earlier that you had left your 9-to-5 job, and so that's always a big leap, right? And there's some risk involved. Have you found that you've been able to replace that income, and kind of describe, some of those challenges, with you and your husband, kind of like how are we going to make ends meet while you're doing that?
Yeah, of course. So part of why I decided to, now is the time to step away from that was because I was looking ahead at my planner, I was looking at my schedule. We kind of talked about, how do you balance all of the time with all of these activities? And I was realizing I'm not, with this 9-to-5 in Kansas City, with the commute, it was like an 11-hour day. I was like, I'm going to be pushing back a lot of these projects way further out for their return date than I would really like to. But then I started crunching the numbers on how much the income was going to be, and I was like, I might need to strike while the
Iron's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of other thoughts about this job that I was like, I don't know if this is a place that I can see myself working long term. And so just kind of a combination of those two factors made me go, I think this is a sign that this is where I'm supposed to be, and I should take this opportunity that I've been working for. In terms of our finances, we are very blessed. My husband has an engineering job that supports basically all of our main expenses, so that allows a lot of my income to be, we want to go on a trip, we would like to build our savings, stuff like that. So we are in a very fortunate financial position where we can work together and make that happen. But part of that was we moved specifically for his job, and so he has said, I'm willing to support what you want to do now in turn, because we did move to a place that's perhaps not the most opportune location for me to do what I do necessarily. So there's, I think that's part of the beauty of being in a partnership or marriage. So yeah.
Definitely.
It was beautiful.
Thank you. Right now, I am just on Instagram, especially because it is just me. I found during college I had a Facebook and a Twitter, and I wasn't really getting enough return on the time investment, essentially. So since I needed to kind of use my time more effectively, I landed on just using Instagram, which I was getting more insights and stuff on anyway, and just focused on that one instead.
So you're not on Facebook?
I am not on Facebook.
You did reels, that probably, I think yours is so interesting with the theater stuff and everything. Instagram's great because you have pictures. Even TikTok, because I think if you can your time is probably not great for there, but you can maybe eventually get somebody to help you with that, because I think that pictures of how they work on easier.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, perhaps in the future I can kind of expand that, but yeah, as of right now, that's sort of where I'm at. Yes.
We're different, but we're similar as far as services goes. And I would say one of my insights that I looked back at is Facebook is always good for older crowd. I would say Instagram's more younger, but I would say like having just a website landing page. My insights for that alone was like 23%. Like there's a lot of people that aren't on any social media that don't have access to you and don't know about you. So if you have a landing page, that could create more of an opportunity for you. Just something simple.
I do have a website.
Oh, perfect.
It doubles as my portfolio, my professional portfolio for my theater work. And it also has a place where people can reach out to me through my website.
Nice.
But I would like to increase my SEO for that website and make it more easily findable. I got a Google, what is it? It's like a Google business profile or something like that. And I feel like it's not quite optimized, so that's kind of a long-term
That'll take time.
goal of
Yeah.
wanting to improve that.
On here that she wanted to make sure we announced about her upcoming improv workshop. Yeah, at the coffee shop. It came from an idea from Peppermint.
Yeah. It's October 2nd. I think it's next Thursday, 6 or 6:30. It's online.
Sign up online.
Yeah.
Downtown.
Say what?
Hazel's downtown.
Hazel's downtown. Yeah.
Can I say something real quick? My first youth lacrosse clinic is this Sunday, so if you have daughters, kindergarten up through high school, Mighty Mo Lacrosse on Facebook. There's a Google Doc that you can, or a Google where you can register on there. It is free. I'm really excited. It's 2 to 4 p.m. over by Krug Park, those north side fields or whatever they are called. So if you know anyone who has daughters who wants to try the sport, they don't need any equipment. I have equipment. It will be really fun. So yeah, that's all.
Well, thank everyone for coming today. Next week starts the beginning of a new month. Hope to see you then.